welcome to another episode of the 3 on 3 Hoops Pod, the voice of 3 on 3 basketball, and where we break down why 3 on 3 basketball is the secret sauce to player development. I'm Kevin Roberts, and joined as always by the one and only Coach Jay, aka Coach Jared Dent. And Coach, I noticed you have a brand new background there. Let's all just acknowledge that for a second. How you doing?
All good, man. All good. It's a new day. And as always, I'm just happy to be a part of the nation.
Awesome. And yeah, we've got a different kind of show, kind of episode for you guys today. This is going to be sort of like a reaction show. So, we're looking back at our interview with Coach Dave and give you our thoughts, reacting to the first 2 weeks of the Big 3, and also giving some fresh thoughts of the FIBA 3x3 World Cup, which is actually going on right now in Mongolia. So we're recording this right after both the USA men's and women's team just played their quarterfinal matchups in the World Cup. The men faced Germany, and the women went head to head with the host country, Mongolia. And unfortunately, both the U.S. men's and women's teams were on the wrong side of upsets, of major upsets. One of them was historical. So we'll get into all that in a little bit, and our reactions on everything the last 2 weeks. So, but first, before we get into all of that, if you haven't already, make sure you go to 3on3hoopsnation.com and join the movement. This is where you can subscribe to our newsletter, where we'll send you articles, play ideas, practice ideas, just different tools for coaches and players to help you take that deep dive into 3on3 basketball. And all those things will be delivered straight to your inbox. Also on the site, you'll find our blog. You can send us a message or even a voicemail, ask us a question, leave us a comment, or even some 3on3 ideas or drills that you're using, that you just want to walk us through, or give examples of, or even want to just talk hoops. And we're always up for that. So of course your questions or ideas may be featured on our next episode on the pod. So, it's a chance to become part of a community, a growing community, and become a part of something that's just growing bigger and bigger. And Coach Jay and I, we want to expand this past the podcast. So we're on a mission to build a community of coaches, parents, and fans who believe in the power of 3on3. Right, Coach?
Yep. Yep. We got all the resources there for coaches, players. We're just building a community around this 3-on-3 basketball thing.
Yeah. And just so you guys know, Coach, this is a coach's brainchild, and I thought it was brilliant. So he's gonna get the credit for the formation. He's the nation president,
Make sure you guys go and
not just
subscribe.
the
It's
not just the
hella
member.
information, hella resources. It's very, very, very useful.
All right. So first, let's start with Coach Dave's interview. And we have some thoughts on our interview with Coach Dave. And first off, what a great conversation that was. And if you missed parts 1 or 2, go back and check those out. Coach dropped some gems on leadership, mindset, confidence, parenting, coaching, you name it. One of the biggest takeaways for me personally was how intentional he is about building environments that help kids believe in themselves again, and
Yeah.
especially after tough seasons. And that's something we don't really talk about a lot, and it's honestly exactly what 3on3 basketball is designed for. You know what I'm saying? So so it's just I thought he had some great thoughts on that. And Coach, what was one of your biggest takeaways from the interview?
Just the mindset part, man. That's a real big part that a lot of people don't look at. And it's funny because right after we had that interview, one of the parents from my team asked, like, "Hey, do you ever talk about the mindset part with the kids?" So just the timing on that was very, very needed. And the mental part of the game is very important, and we need people like Coach Dave, and those sports psychologists, people that are in that space. They're very, very useful. They come in handy, because the mental aspect is crucial, to being successful. Um, and now with the youth sports, landscape the way it is, unfortunately, they put a lot of stake on wins and losses. And that could be a lot for a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid,
Yes.
to bear. So, just having
Absolutely.
programs in place, to work on these kids' mental is very vital for their success and their development.
Yeah, that's 100% true. How is your season going, by the way? What's been the biggest, or what's been the biggest challenge so far in coaching this season for you?
We've been getting thumped around. We did lose a game by two. We came down to the last possession. But the biggest challenge is just trying to get this group of guys, to work on the cohesion. We had a few of our normal players didn't play in this past tournament, or the past couple of tournaments actually that we had. Just from them, being out of town on summer break. So we had, to grab a player or two that's come through our program previously. They've gone on to, work with other programs and things like that, which is one thing that we could talk about this on another
Yeah,
show, the program switching and playing for two or three programs.
yeah. Oh no,
But
yeah.
yeah, but
So just to like bring some clarity, we're talking about coach's
the club
club team,
team.
is his five
Yeah.
on five team. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, our club team. We're just taking everything that we've been working on in our 3-on-3, and then obviously there's a learning curve when you trying to switching into 5-on-5. And that's just the challenge that we're facing. A lot of these teams that we're playing, you can tell that they've been playing together for a little while. Ours, we kind of lack cohesion. But that's what practice and what these tournaments are going to get us. The more we do it, the better I expect the outcome to be. That included with our the guys that aren't there, our regular players, our normal players that know what to
Mhm.
expect. Once we get them back into the fold, I expect a little bit more positive results on the opposite side.
Yeah,
Even though that's not what we're really focused on, I am big on, you know, after a while, kids want to, they want to win some games, or they'll mentally check out. So, we do want to get into these more competitive games, get into the games where we do, stack up some W's. So just so I can, have the kids stay mentally checked in.
yeah. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's and then you like mentioned. I mean, I it's been a few or a couple years now since I've coached any type of AAU basketball, but I do remember all those weekends, long weekends. I know you have games at like 7 in the morning, and you're there till like 7 at night. So,
man.
uh, but I do remember all those challenges that all coaches go through, and a lot of my biggest challenge when I was the thing that I didn't like the most was the lack of practice time, and that does hurt.
Yeah.
It hurts when you're trying to build that cohesion that you're talking about. So,
Yep.
and that's why that's a big reason why that we're coach and I are both huge proponents of 3-on-3 basketball, because we do think that in order to maximize your practice time, there's no better way in getting everybody involved than incorporating 3-on-3 into your program. So,
Yep.
and you actually brought up a lot, something that kind of that made me think about that I found interesting. In I guess it's more of a realization in Coach Dave's interview, is how 3-on-3 basketball is used by all of us as a tool to not only develop players and build confidence, but it's also used as sort of a reset button. And
Yeah.
when players get stressed out about you know uh, about playing organized 5-on-5, whether it's because of the coaches, the parents, or the pressure, like you talked about, of
Yeah.
winning. There's just something about 3-on-3 that kind of brings you back to the root of why you enjoy this game. And Coach Dave kind of touched on this in the interview. And it's just like, the freedom that you have, the creativity, and like the real reason we get into the sport in the first place. And that's because, it's fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, there's not this, he said he didn't want to use the word competitive. It's not as, um you don't have to, like, the focus isn't just on winning, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's it just kind of brings you back to the root of why you started. And I actually recently watched this YouTube video of one of my favorite video games. I don't Do you play video games at all? I don't know if I ever asked you
Man,
that.
I used to play video games for hours on end. It's just
Yeah,
I'm super
same.
busy now. If
Oh
if
yeah, of
if I can
course.
get my hands on a joystick, I'll get on there for about an
Yeah.
hour or so. But
So
yeah, my days are over playing video
yeah,
games.
same here. Same. So yeah, you got like three businesses going on. But when I did play, I was a heavy, 2K player, NBA Live, and but one of my favorite video games of all time was NBA Street Volume 2.
Yeah,
And yep, and so like I used to play, that game was just fun, and you know what I'm saying, and it kind of reminds me of, and
like a
that was
three on
three
three
on
street ball
and
type
that
of
was
thing.
three on
Yeah.
three basketball. You pick your three players or whatever, and that was like a three on three version of NBA Jam almost, and it reminded me how fun, like I didn't have to worry, like there were no fouls, you know what I'm saying, so you weren't, it wasn't like simulation basketball, it was just fun to play, and
Yeah.
and back then, like, games were like, even kind of today, as the games are super serious with, getting as close to realism as possible, and NBA Street kind of reminds me of 3-on-3 versus 5-on-5. So I don't know,
Yeah.
but I was just thinking about
Now
that. I
I get
saw the
what you're saying.
video. Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
get what you're saying. The fun aspect, the NBA Street,
yeah.
there was a fun aspect because back in the day, I was an NBA Live guy.
Yeah,
So
same here. And I mean,
yeah, yeah.
as the games progress, that the companies tried to make it, as realistic as possible. And back then it
Uh-huh.
was amazing. And now I think kids are just spoiled. Like, the shoelaces are the wrong colors, or it's like, my God, it
Yeah,
has the wrong haircut. But like
yeah.
back, when we grew up, we just amazed on how realistic the games were, and they get, more
They
real
even
and
had
more real.
motions and sets and everything on there. That
Exactly.
was the beginning of my coaching mind back in the NBA Live days. Because I was like, oh, they got motions and sets and flex
Oh,
and all that stuff. I'm like, oh yeah,
I'm definitely and I only really played sports games, so I'm a
yeah,
sports
me
gamer
too.
nerd. When
Yeah.
it comes to that, like I used to, probably this too nerdy. I used to write my own articles and stuff and post them or whatever when they had like
Nope. Hey, don't even know. Not even know. I got you
I
beat.
coach,
I got you beat.
I kept my no, you don't, because I kept my own stats. I made a virtual Dick by Towel website, and they
Yeah.
like I was playing Coach K's college basketball, and I
Yeah.
made my own dynasty, because this is before dynasties
We
came
had
out.
dynasty mode. Yeah.
Coach, we're gonna go off on a tangent on this. I was
I
just
know. I know, man. Hey, but no, I used to make my own championship banners when I used to win the championship of the game. I created my own championship banners. This is no lie. I created my own championship banners and I hung them up over my door. So when my friends used to walk in the room, they're like, "What the hell is that?" Right? And then they
hold on,
get
talk
on
about,
the
talk about, talk about, talk about, talk about, talk about. Is this against other players, or this just against computer?
oh no, this is against the computer. This is the
Oh my
computer
God.
season. I play all 82 games. Whatever my record was would be the record. I would go through the
Oh my God.
playoffs,
All
the
right.
the first round, second
That is
round, conference
hilarious.
finals, and NBA finals. And when I win it, I would make an NBA
That's
championship banner
awesome. All
and I
right.
would hang it on the
You think,
wall.
okay, so now I wonder what's more nerdy, because I'm telling you, I wrote full blown articles. Like, I used to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
so I used to I was going to Jacksonville University at the time, and so I would
yeah.
be the coach of Jacksonville University. Yes, I was, this is when I was in college, my adult years. And so actually no, this was after college. So this
Yeah,
I think I was married and had, kids at this time.
yeah,
And I wrote full blown articles like JU upsets Kansas in whatever in non
yeah,
conference play, and I had like a
yeah.
little Dick Vitale section or whatever talking about Coach Roberts and how he's leading a small school in Jacksonville to the Final Four and all that
That's
stuff. And
funny, man. Yeah.
oh man, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
But I
so
had
we was
like
on the
news.
same type of time, man.
Yeah.
We was on the same type of
All right, now that we've established how nerdy coaching I
time.
let's we're gonna move on to any other thoughts on Coach Dave's interview before we move on.
I mean, I just love the interview, man. You can tell, he's a professional. He's been in the space for a while, and that's somebody, that if you're in that Portland area or whatever, and this is just a plug for Coach Dave, that should be someone that you guys should tap in with in that Northwest. What is it, Northwest 3-on-3?
Northwest 3-on-3. And
Yeah.
if you go on to, and this is something new that we're putting on 3on3hoopsnation.com. He is our first featured, he was in our first featured 3-on-3 spotlight. So every couple of weeks we're going to have a 3-on-3 spotlight, which will
I
be on a
see.
particular You're good. So every week we're gonna have a 3-on-3 feature, the 3-on-3 spotlight where we feature a coach or a league, something going on in the 3-on-3 world, and Northwest 3-on-3 basketball is this week's 3-on-3 spotlight. So go over to the website and check that out. So
Yes,
all
sir.
right. So let's shift gears here to the big three. Coach and I were we didn't get to recap what happened in week one, but we're now 2 weeks in to the big three, and this season already feels different. I mean, the energy and the roster shakeups, personalities. Week one was in Chicago. The main event was the LA Riot versus Miami 305, and it was being hyped up as Michael Beasley, who was last season's MVP, versus Dwight Howard.
Hmm.
But it ended up being Lance Stephenson and Dwight Howard,
Yeah.
and the two highest profile rookies of the big three this season. And it's weird calling the Hall of Famer Dwight Howard
Rookies.
a rookie,
Yeah.
the
But
rookie Hall of
hey,
Famer.
but he's playing like a rookie because
Oh
he
yeah,
is a rookie in 3-on-3. He's a rookie
yep,
in 3-on-3, and that's how you can tell there's a
yep,
difference. There's a learning curve there, kind of like what I was saying a little bit earlier. Transitioning our guys from the spring 3-on-3 to the summer 5-on-5 is a little bit
yeah.
of a learning curve there because as much as it's still basketball, you still have to get used to, in his case, less people, more spacing, continuous movement versus when he played in the NBA. Obviously, he was just offensive rebound, put back, dunk, lob guy.
Yeah, and
And
yeah,
a help
so
defender, the help defender. He can't
yeah,
he can't be a help defender in a 3-on-3. You got to be able to man up with your guys. So
yeah.
you can definitely see that. Obviously he's still Hall of Fame, Dwight Howard, but you can kind of still see that the 3-on-3 is taking him some time to get into it.
And you're gonna see a Dwight Howard that we're not used to seeing. I mean, I see him some, he's gonna
Yeah,
be attempting some 3-point shots or whatever, and some he has a little bit more perimeter game than what you probably remember, in his days in NBA. So he's gonna get a chance to show all that this season. And but yeah, Lance Stevenson and his air guitar celebration has returned. Unfortunately, the fight did break out, a little scuffle. I wouldn't call it a fight, but a little
yeah.
scuffle. I don't know. I
I
don't
thought
know.
they were joking. I thought they were joking all the way up all the way until the blows started landing.
Till Dwight Howard body slammed them
Yeah,
into the crowd.
yeah,
And I did see interview podcast that Ice Cube was on, and he obviously doesn't want to see that. He doesn't want anybody to get hurt, especially in the crowd
yeah. He
in
got
the
to he got to
stands.
protect his brand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, so obviously he didn't want the fight to happen. There's some people saying that I saw a Bleacher Report saying that Ice Cube told Dwight Howard and Michael Beasley to start something, or Lance Stevenson start something for clicks. But that's obvious that this is not what they want. And you can tell, like,
Uh,
just looking up recaps and stuff like that, and
yeah,
you can barely find anything on the fight anymore
yeah.
outside that one
Yeah,
article. So
IQ was running a legit basketball league.
this is yeah,
This isn't
exactly,
WWF. That's where
exactly.
that's where the original XFL messed up at way back in the day. They tried to mix in WWF
Yeah,
elements with
yeah.
football, and that just doesn't work.
I mean, and you have the personalities, and so, like, what Ice Cube is trying to bring back is just like, how this was basically the roots of basketball. Just like, you have all these personalities come out, and you have strong personalities on the court with Michael Beasley. I heard in the interview, same interview, Dwight Howard said he was, obviously this wasn't planned, but he never got a chance to I guess defend himself the way that he was about to in the big three games. So he said he was ready, he wanted
Yeah,
all the smoke. So you can't really do that in NBA. But anyway, so I think they got all that out of them, and we will see some legit basketball, and the games were actually pretty good.
yeah,
um
yeah,
you
yeah.
we had ISO Joe, Joe Johnson.
Love ISO Joe.
He's just he was the MVP of the big three for 3 seasons, in 1921 and 2023, I believe.
I was gonna
And
say he won multiple, huh?
yeah, he won three. He's won the most since the league started. He's the
Yeah,
three MVP. So yeah, they beat. So he's on the Detroit Amps, and again, I love the city names, and I
yeah.
like how they're kind of basically touring the cities of each home team. So they beat the host city, the Chicago Triplets. who I think Montrezl Harrell is on that team, and
Yeah.
what's his name, the slam dunk guy, champion, Jason Richardson, he's on that team,
Oh, Richardson.
on the Chicago Triplets
Yeah.
also. But in the end, ISO Joe was just too much. He hit a clutch 4-point shot when they were down 44-48. And yeah, and now so that 4-point shot tied it up, and then they got the steal and won the game. So I think who was the other team? Houston Rig Hands.
Rick
Excuse me.
Hands. Yeah.
Yeah, Houston Rig Hands. They're led by Corey Brewer. And
Corey
they beat.
Brewer is a legit 3-on-3 baller also.
So they won the championship last year. But
Yeah.
I think their team name was Bivouac. I think that's what his name.
I
That was
can't
the name.
remember. Yeah.
And they beat the Houston Big Rig Hands, led by Corey Brewer, beat DMV Trilogy. So trilogy. And then move on into week 2. The main event again involved Miami 305. Michael Beasley. Oh, and Miami 305 is going to be the headliner
That's
in
the
most of
favorite.
these cities.
Yeah.
Michael Beasley's the face of the league. I mean, he's just, his popularity has kind of skyrocketed the last few weeks. So
Yep.
and
Especially after being on that interview on the pivot.
exactly, and he's on he's on the Big Three's podcast. So Chris Haynes, the former ESPN reporter,
Mm-hmm.
he has a podcast, and I think Beasley's the co-host, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, so they played Miami 305 played ISO Joe's team, and so 3-time MVP ISO Joe versus current league MVP Michael Beasley, or defending MVP Michael Beasley. So that was the matchup, and it was a good game until Joe Johnson suffered a late knee injury or leg injury. I don't know if it was knee or his ankle. But Detroit was able to pull it out at the end. ISO Joe had 29 points, and
Yeah.
so that was a really good game. And Ball Hogs, who coaches the Ball Hogs?
Nah, who goes the ball hogs?
Gary Payton. Gary
Oh
Payton.
yeah.
Gary Payton.
Yeah.
Yeah, your boy out there in the West Coast.
The glove, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they beat the MV trilogy, who was coached by Vernon Maxwell, who I think he was filling in for Steven Jackson. But so yeah, so the first 2 weeks have been good. Next week, week 3, or this weekend, is going to be in Miami. So again, they're touring all the city, the cities,
The
which I
8
think
cities.
is cool. Yeah. So no games in Tampa this year, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so Big 3 has been fun. And then so now finally, we have to talk about FIBA 3x3, the World
Upset
Cup.
of the century.
World Cup going on. Excuse me. The World Cup going on in all right, I'm gonna try to say this right. Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia.
I
Can you
don't
give
know
it
how
a
to say it.
shot?
It's just you, the you place.
Unfortunately, the U.S. men's and women's team were on the wrong end of some pretty big upsets this morning. I was this morning here in the U.S., which is early for me. The games were 7:00 Eastern time, or 7:30 Eastern time, and so I know Coach wasn't going to wake up at 4:00 in the morning to watch these
I
games.
was watching the back of my eyelids at that time, man.
But I did get to see, did get to see both the men's and women lose, in their respective games. So when I mentioned one of the losses being historical, and that's because the women of Mongolia upset the top ranked U.S. women's team,
The
and
team that never loses.
yeah, and Mongolia is on a magical run. So so this was actually, and this is what Kyle the Voice Montgomery, who's he's the commentator for the FIBA 3x3 games. He's basically the Dick Vitale of FIBA 3x3. So he's like the voice. That's his nickname, the voice. But he said that this is the biggest sports accomplishment in the country's history. So that was
I believe it.
They were heavy underdogs going into the entire tournament, and then to go against the favorite in the U.S. women's, who, like you said, they've been on a roll. And with U.S. have Michaela Williams, Sahara Williams from Oklahoma, and Sarah Strong from UConn. So they're stacked. They got also Morgan Malley from Creighton. So they're a stacked team, and they couldn't pull it out, man.
They didn't have it today.
Just,
Yeah, they just didn't have it today. Yeah.
yeah. So Mongolia just hit like 3 after 3, and yeah. So the crowd. If you guys can just I'll put a link to it in the description. The crowd was amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the like, because it was
I
the
can
home,
imagine, man.
man. That,
Just think about those international soccer games. It had the same
yeah,
type of.
that's what I
It
was
had
going to
the
mention.
same type of feel to it. Yep.
That energy was like, so I'm sure that affected the U.S. also. I mean, the crowd was on their feet. It was just an amazing atmosphere. So,
Yeah.
and then you got the men's team who are also upset by Germany,
Is
and
that an upset though?
it is because it's the U.S. But this is just,
Well, we're still in catch up mode. I feel like in 3x3.
we are, but
Yeah. So
still,
I don't
so
really.
Germany is
I
one of
don't
those
really.
younger teams.
I mean,
But I
I
didn't think
don't
it was much of an upset when I
upset.
actually saw the teams, because Germany is just a big team. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
you don't necessarily think big team when you talk 3-on-3 or 3x3.
3-on-3. Yeah.
But they have this guy. I wrote down his name. Let's
But it
see.
definitely makes a difference.
Fabian Giesman, I think that's how you say his name. But he's like a DeMarcus Cousins body
I don't
built,
know.
type guy. And then he was just way too big, and he basically dominated down low. US couldn't do anything with him. And like, if your shots aren't falling from the outside or whatever, you can't really get to the basket. It's just, there's nothing
It
like
could be
just
tough
dumping it.
sledding.
Yeah, there's you just got somebody to dump it down to and just get you a bucket. That's basically what Germany did. So, like you said, US doesn't have, we're still in catch up mode. You're exactly right. So, we still have some names that you probably not never heard of.
Yeah,
But
yeah, for sure.
Henry Caruso. I have the team in front of me. Henry Caruso, Mitch Hahn,
Would you
James
dare to
Parrott.
say they just lack star power or whatever?
But the thing is, you're not going to get star power. I mean, so that's what I mean. So
Well, you
this
got
is,
Jimmer Fredette. I mean, it's a star of 3-on-3. I'm not
yeah,
saying they're gonna
no,
get a
but I'm
professional
saying,
player, but
no, but yeah,
somebody has to, somebody has to come, somebody has to break through, as like how we just said, Michael Beasley is the face of the
hmm
Big Three.
yeah,
Somebody has to be the Michael Beasley of USA 3x3 basketball. Somebody has to,
yeah. I think it just
somebody
has to
has to
be.
want that to start.
Yeah,
And
you're
then
right.
second, you gotta we have to help elevate him. Marketing is part of it too.
Yeah, no. I think 3x3 just needs to be. It's not gonna happen until 3x3. Excuse me. Until 3x3 becomes bigger in the U.S. Period. I
Yeah.
mean, to have more, they
And
need more
we're gonna
events
spearhead that, by the way.
in the U.S. And I do think, with it being in the Olympics, with the Olympics being in LA, in 2028, that will help. Because I do
Yeah.
see some popping up more and more. So,
Yeah.
and the US, they do have potential for. I mean, James Parrott is fun to watch. I mean, they call him Air Parrott, and he's just he's fun to watch. And same with
Yeah.
Henry Caruso, and some people might know Dylan Travis from the Olympics in the last Olympics. So they have potential. They need that one guy. Maybe one of these big three guys can, join or whatever. So, but I do think, to your point, yeah, US they do lack a little star power. And, that's why, we encourage, you and I are this is why this is the movement, you know what I'm saying? Get more people
Exactly.
playing, more young people to play 3x3 3-on-3, 3x3 basketball, whatever the case may be. It's just another option to play. So, and once people realize that, there's more than just 5-on-5. There's more than just, there's more than just the goal of playing 5-on-5. So, there's another avenue to all of this. So, all right. So anything else? I don't know if you want to add anything else, or
Yeah, man, I got hella froze right now.
oh, can you hear me though?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
My
fine.
screen.
No,
Can you
if you're
see me? Because my screen is frozen
your
on my
screen,
phone.
your screen is frozen, but it's recording locally, so I think it'll be fine as long
Okay.
as you can hear. So you're good. Yeah, your screen is frozen, but I don't think it's gonna come through that way. So
Says I'll be
anyway,
back in 2 minutes.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so that's going to do it for our recap show. And again, huge shout out to Coach Dave for an incredible interview. And Coach, any closing thoughts you have or anything you got going on that you want to talk about?
Nothing much, man. It's summer. Kids out there that you participating in, these summer leagues. Use this as a developmental period.
Mhm.
Don't forget to add 3-on-3 basketball into your training regimen. And yeah, just let's just keep evolving this game, man. Like I
Yep.
said, the future star of USA 3x3 is being developed in leagues like ours. So let's just keep pushing forward.
Yeah. And again, if you're enjoying the show, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave a review. Most importantly, join the 3on3 Hoops Nation. Just head over to 3on3hoopsnation.com. It's where, we're building this growing community, just sharing practice ideas, dropping blog posts, and just continue these conversations beyond the pod. So, send us a message, leave us a voicemail, share an idea for a future episode. So, you might be featured on the pod. So who knows?
Yeah.
Uh, Coach, any words of wisdom before we head out?
It's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. If you want to make a name for yourself in whatever space you're in, go out and be your best self.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So again, thanks again for listening and join the nation and we'll see you when we see you. Peace.